welcome to my views on news. Another video for you. Details are emerging now of the peace agreement signed yesterday in South Africa between Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF) and Ethiopian federal government. Though complete agreement has not been made public so far, only a draft is in circulation. The two sides are not confirming officially that this draft is actual peace agreement signed in South Africa. Why are the two sides not sharing the agreement signed in South Africa? It is leading to speculations. Tigrayan diaspora community is pinning its hopes on the final agreement which was signed but not made public so far. They want to see the complete agreement before before making decisions about their future strategy. Now, an important development is about a speech delivered by Ethiopian PM Abiy today. There he spoke about the agreement signed in South Africa. New election will be held in Tigray. He confirmed that in his speech today. What did he say? Where was he speaking? PM Abiy is in the SNNPR region, Southern Nationalities and Peoples region, and he is in Gamo zone. In Gamo zone, Arba Mint City, SNNPR regional state, he addressed a large gathering. You can see some pictures on your screen. The pictures are from Arba Mint, where PM Abiy today delivered a speech. What did he say? He spoke about the agreement signed yesterday in South Africa. Firstly, he said that our brothers attacked us in November 2020. So he used the word brothers for Tigray fighters. He said that the people of Tigray suffered too. There was destruction, there was crisis in Tigray. But the agreement signed in South Africa is a new start for all Ethiopians. That is why Ethiopians should not speak bad about each other after the ceasefire, the peace agreement signed yesterday. Then he spoke about ENDF, that there is only one Ethiopian National Defense Force in Ethiopia, and it was agreed by the parties in South Africa. And he said that what Ethiopia wanted in talks was achieved by Ethiopian government fully. 100% of Ethiopian government's demands were achieved, were met by Ethiopian negotiators in the talks. And Tigray agreed. TPLF agreed to whatever Ethiopian government wanted in the talks. He said Ethiopian government achieved 100% in South Africa talks. Then he spoke about election. He said illegal election will be replaced by new election. We know that in Tigray region, before the start of this 2-year-long war in November, election was held. Regional election was held. Debretsion Gebremichael was elected as the president. TPLF secured majority. Other opposition parties like Salsivojene, Betona could not gain large support in Tigray. But back then, Ethiopian federal government declared that election null and void. Tigray was insisting back then, TPLF, that a general election should be held on time in 2020, but election was delayed. Tigray People Liberation Front was accusing Ethiopian PM Abiy and Prosperity Party that they were delaying general election. that PM Abiy wanted to remain in power without election. Government's position was that due to coronavirus pandemic and other issues, holding of election in 2020 was not possible. The election was held, general election, in 2021. But in Tigray regional government held election. TPLF gained majority and Debretsion was chosen as president of the region, but federal parliament declared the election null and void. Federal government withheld financial support for Tigray region too, financial support for federal institutions in Tigray like universities too. Now, government's position is the same. Agreement was signed yesterday between TPLF and Ethiopian federal government, not between Tigray regional government and Ethiopian federal government. And PM Abiy's speech is a confirmation. He said fresh election, regional election will be held in Tigray. The election which was held in Tigray in 2020 is null and void. TPLF has agreed to holding of new election. That is what PM Abiy said in his speech in Arba Minch today. It's clear, it's very clear that TPLF has made several concessions. It has secured its political survival. TPLF was declared a terrorist organization last year by Ethiopian Parliament. Now this terrorist label will be removed. It means TPLF is surviving as a political party. TPLF will contest regional election. It's clear. That is what seems to be the case, though we're waiting for a final agreement. But it seems that TPLF has secured its political survival. Regional election will be held and TPLF, Salseboyene, Batona and others will now participate in the next election which could be held in coming months. But before that, an interim setup will be installed in Tigray. Federal government officials, federal forces and maybe some regional political parties will be part of this interim setup, because election will be conducted by this interim setup, not by today's government led by Debretsion Gabremiga. It means Debretsion is no more president of Tigray region. TPLF has agreed that interim setup is going to be put in place in Tigray region, and that interim setup, which could be in the form of a command post, maybe ENDF and other forces will take over, or ENDF and some political groups will form this interim setup and election will be held. I think TPLF is hoping that if election is held in Tigray, it can win majority again. It can be back to Mekelle if election is held in Tigray. But it will be interesting to see, by the way, how election will be held, who will monitor the election, who will win the election, because this agreement has definitely damaged TPLF's position as a popular, a major political party in the Tigray region of Ethiopia. It would be difficult for TPLF to sweep election if it is held today. Opposition parties will definitely launch new narratives now, and the narratives will be launched against TPLF as well. But TPLF has secured its political survival. It is hoping that it will be part of election and then it will be back to power, not only in Mekelle but also in Addis Ababa, because reportedly Tigray representatives, Tigray government will be accommodated at federal level too. So PM Abiy's today's speech is clear that Ethiopia had maximalist demands, but all its maximalist demands were met. Their targets were achieved in South Africa, and new election will be held in Tigray. Maybe in the peace agreement there would be mention of when the elections will be held, how the elections will be held, who will monitor these elections. I'll update you in coming videos about the details about new developments. Thank you for watching.